Hello and welcome to Core 1 Maths Revision. This is how to differentiate. But first off, what is differentiation? Differentiation is to find out the gradient of a line at a certain point. There are two ways to show it. If you've got an equation of a line that's a y equals blah de blah de blah about x, then the differentiation of this would be dy over dx equals, and I'll show you what to do to this part later. The other way of showing a graph is to call it f of x is something. When you differentiate this, you write it as f of dash x equals something. But the main thing you have to remember is this is telling you the gradient. And you need to remember this because it won't necessarily tell you in your exam you have to differentiate, but it will ask you about the gradient or about something to do with the gradient, and you need to make that link yourself. Now, how do you differentiate? This is a nice diagram that I've been shown that I think explains it quite well. Whatever x you have to the power of whatever, you move that power and times it to the front, and then you drop the power by 1. So let's do some examples. X to the x cubed would go to 3x squared. X to the 4 plus x to the 2 would go to 4x to the 3 plus 2x. X by itself is the same as x to the 1, so that would go to 1 lot of x to the 0, which is just 0. A number on its own is the same as a number x to the 0, so that would go to 0 x to the minus 1, which is just 0. If we had x to the minus 2, it would go to minus 2x minus 3. We had x to a third, it would go to a third x to the minus 2 thirds. We had 3x cubed, would go to 9x squared. Now I think those examples cover all the basis. Basically, you move the number to the front and drop the power by 1. If you've got more than one x, you just do it to each one individually. If it's x to the 1, or if it's a number by itself, then x to the 1, the x part disappears. Hang on, I've done this wrong. That's not 0, that's 1. Sorry about that. X to the 1, the x part disappears. If it's just a number on itself, the whole thing disappears. If it's a minus, you still take away 1. If it's a fraction, you're still taking away 1, so it's a bit more awkward to work out. And if there's a number in front, you still times your power to that number in front and drop the power. That's the simplest way to put it. You move your power to the front, and you drop it by 1. Now, let's look at this in a question. If we're getting asked the gradient of y equals x squared plus 3x plus 8 at the coordinates 2, 4, how do we do that? Well, first of all, we want to know the gradient, so we're going to differentiate dy over dx. And that gets us 2x plus 3, because this is bring the 2 forward, drop it to a 1. Would bring a 1 forward, so that doesn't change. Drop this to a 0, so the x cancels. And because it's just a number, it disappears. So we're left with 2x plus 3. We know that our x equals 2 because of the coordinate. So we're left with 2 plus 3, which equals 7. So the gradient at this point is 7. It's as simple as that. Of course, you will be asked more complicated questions, which I'll go into a bit later. But the real basics of differentiation is this diagram. you move the power to the front, drop the power by 1. That's it. That's the basics of differentiation. So you need to know that just off by heart, really. If you don't know it, you will really struggle. So make sure you remember how to do this, and remember how to do it with negatives and fractions and numbers in front, because these are the things that make it a bit more awkward, but will be getting you those extra marks. So I hope this has helped you. This has been Core 1 revision, how to differentiate, and there will be a bit more on turning points, which involves differentiation, coming soon.